Hey, it's Kim, and I'm back for another week. Hey, it's Kim, and I'm back for another.
One more game.
Hey, it's Kim, and I'm back with another episode of 10-Minute Tips for Your Relationships. Just 10 minutes. This week, we are going to talk about the 4 stages of relationships. Hi, it's Kim, and I'm back for another week of 10-minute tips for your relationships. 10 minutes. So this week we're going to talk about the 4 stages of relationships. Yes, we go through a lot. Don't get me wrong. Our relationships go through many stages, but there are 4 stages that just about every relationship kind of ebbs and flows through. So last week, we talked a bit about how our relationship starts out in the stage of euphoria. Well, that's basically stage 1. Stage 1 of relationships is called romantic love. Yes, it's that romance. It's that place of being in bliss, in happiness all the time, where we said our differences are not issues, but there are strengths. We're connecting on every level. I mean, there are no limitations to what we think that we can do in this relationship. We're always having fun. We're always caring and sharing with one another. It's that romantic side of relationships. But, there's a downside to that too, because like we discussed before, when we're in euphoria, that special place of happiness and excitement with a person, sometimes we tend to ignore others. And in this particular stage of relationships or stage of marriage, whichever you want to call it, sometimes we tend to forget about other people that are important to us. And I think to some degree that our family and our friends expect us when we're first, newly married, to be that way for a certain length of time, but after a certain period of time, we realize that we still need those people in our lives. And we'll discuss a little later how that's important to have other people and other things in our lives while we're in a relationship. So stage 2, Stage 2 is that place called the power struggle. Yes. That's when we're trying to define who we are in this relationship. So like we said, the euphoria, checked out. It's all worn off. And now our differences are now bigger problems for us. Our differences are more obvious because, there are some things that we were sweeping under that rug. We were sweeping under that euphoria rug and falling in love. But now we come across all of that stuff underneath that rug and we start tripping over it. I mean, like tripping over it, right? So the things that we thought were cute and funny, they're no longer that anymore. Now we're looking at these differences being big time problems for us. So we have to know how to maneuver and how to work through that. Also in this stage, the things we were similar in now become differences for us. So say if we enjoyed the same types of food, now it may be a complaint that we always eat there. We always have the same thing. So, in this particular stage of our relationship, we are really trying to establish who we are and who we are in this relationship. Sometimes there's a lot of miscommunication. that takes place in this part of our relationship, in this stage. Arguments start to happen. And arguments can be a scary thing if you are just coming off of that euphoria stage, because sometimes arguments can, give the wrong signal. It can signal to you that there's something wrong in the relationship, but it's not. It's not. It's just that you're trying to establish who you are as individuals at this particular point. The Bible says the two became one, and that is true. Once we get married, then we should start unifying ourselves. But there is still a certain amount of independence that we should still have. So during this struggle stage that we're in, our power struggle stage, that lack of communication can take you on a wild goose chase. I'm telling you, because you'll be talking about one thing, and before you know it, it'll lead into a whole nother argument. And before you know it, you're just arguing about anything and everything. So during this stage, during this power struggle stage, or what I like to say, during this stage of establishing who we are as individuals in the relationship, there are some things that perhaps we can do to help ourselves so that we don't just completely destroy what we're trying to build. The first thing is we want to accept and appreciate our differences. Yes, accept and appreciate our differences. I remember being newly married, and my husband and I, we would have these conversations. And I remember there were times when I didn't necessarily agree with some things that he was saying, and he didn't like that a lot. Why? Because I had a different opinion from him. And so sometimes having a different opinion from that person that you're in relationship with can bring on some fear that maybe we're not supposed to be together. But that's not true, because we're individuals. And I guarantee you, it's the difference in that person that drew you to them, that attracted you to them. So appreciate and accept our differences. Learn to share the power. Yeah, we're not one-sided in the relationship. No one person in the relationship should have all the power. We should be sharing the power in the relationship. And it shouldn't be a struggle. Decision making should be something that we sit down and we do together. We should not be lording one over the other, but sharing the power. Let go of your unrealistic expectations and thoughts about what you thought the relationship was going to be. Now, this is hard sometimes because we went into this thing with one thought of what it was. And now that we're in it, it seems to be something different. But that's okay. All that means is you're growing, you're developing, you're expanding, you're evolving. And not just as a couple, but as individuals. So it is really okay to let go of that unrealistic expectation and that unrealistic thought of what this relationship was going to be. You may have gone into it thinking, oh, we're just going to have fun all the time, and we're just going to have sex all the time, and it's just going to be hey, all the time. And guess what? It's not. Because the real work starts when you start living together and being together and making decisions together. So you know what? Let go of it. Let go of it. It's not the death of what you thought it should be, but now it's evolving into what it should be. Recognize your strengths and build on them. Recognize your partner's strengths and build on those. Let his or her strengths build you, and you do the same for them. There are some things that my husband is really good at, and there are some things that he's not really good at. And perhaps I'm good at those things. And so what we do is we bounce off of each other because that helps to build the relationship. Set boundaries. Yes, clear-cut boundaries are very important in a relationship. It creates a mutual respect for one another. We have to figure out how to establish autonomy in the relationship. Why? Because autonomy is very important. Early on in my relationship, we didn't have much autonomy. Well, I didn't have much autonomy because I didn't have my friends and I didn't reach out to them. I didn't have a life separate outside of him. And so I had to learn how to do that. Yes, you can be autonomous in the relationship and not completely ruin it. In this relationship, we have to figure out how to establish autonomy without ruining the relationship. I'm running out of time, so we're going to pick up part 2 next week. These are my 10-minute tips. You take care and you stay safe.